Hey, good morning, Sully.
What's happening, man?
You tell me. You're the host of the show.
We got a lot to digest from semifinal weekend, which is still going on throughout today, and we're looking pretty good as sports reporters because we kept saying Delsey's a team you don't want to face in the playoffs. So it kind of makes us seem like we know what we're talking about a little bit.
I hope everybody was paying attention when we were talking about that because Delsey was down. Timber Creek comes out in the second half of that game last night and scores on their first possession, goes up 23-7 and was looking pretty good. And then all of a sudden, like the bottom kind of just dropped out, and Delsey goes on and they score, and then Timber Creek just makes some really uncharacteristic mistakes in not fielding kicks and a receiver getting hit in the back with the ball on a punt and a couple interceptions, and next thing you know, Delsey had all the momentum in the world. And that 41-30 final is when you look at it, it's kind of almost stunning that for a Timber Creek team that hadn't lost in 25 straight games and 2 straight sectional championships is not going back to a final. Delsey really showed what they're made of last night in that second half.
And when you think about what they had to overcome, like you said, the 25-game win streak, and you're talking about a team that has one of the top quarterback recruits in the nation. I mean, Devin Leary going to NC State. So to beat a team like that is really an outstanding job by Sal Marquez and that staff over at Delsey. I kind of had a feeling after last week that they would have a really good shot to win that game. That running game is just relentless, and you saw it against Ocean City where they tried everything they could to stay in that game, and they just couldn't. I mean, they couldn't stop that running game.
Yeah, the running game has been there all year. Aiden Bourget, another 200-plus yard game to go, over 2,000 yards on the season. And, Delsey, in its rich history and what it's been able to do in winning games by running the ball game after game and quarter after quarter and such. But, Aiden's the first player to hit 2,000 yards. So, the thing was last night, we knew Delsey was going to run the football. They threw the ball. Mason Maxwell threw the ball twice, both for touchdowns. But the thing is, I think the biggest thing is it's not so much what Delsey did in running the football because we kind of knew that was coming. I think the mistakes that Timber Creek made in that game last night were mistakes that, at least from my perspective, they haven't made, and they haven't made for better than 2 years. Every game you're going to have penalties. You're going to have maybe you have a turnover here or there. But for the mistakes that Timber Creek made last night, 5 of them in the second half of what arguably is the biggest game of the season for them to this point in the season, you just can't overcome those kind of mistakes against a Delsey team. And Delsey made them pay for those mistakes every time they made them.
And Kevin, I don't think the Maxwell kid gets enough credit for what he does. I mean, yeah, a lot of times he's handing off, but in that offense, he's got to make a lot of reads after the snap. That kind of that read option offense they run a little bit, and the kid's, like I said on Twitter in response to Tribble last night, that kid's just a winner, man. He's an outstanding wrestler, and to have a kid like that running your offense who knows how to win and isn't afraid of the moment is really something that I think goes overlooked with that team.
In that offense, the quarterback dictates everything. And, if he's got, like you said, he's got to make the read. And, there's times where they run that ball and Bourget gets it at the very last moment and it gets stuffed. And then there's other times where he gets that ball and just plows up the middle and he's gone. But at the same time, Mason Maxwell does a great job of determining when that's going to happen. And there's times when, there's so many bodies in the middle of the field, yet the ball is up the right side of the field. And he does a great job of dictating what they're going to do. And, after the game and talking to Sal Marquez, and he has said it before and he'll say it again, that team does not go without its quarterback going. So if Mason Maxwell's not having himself the best of days, well, that's going to dictate an awful lot. But last night he had the best day he's ever had, and for them to rally the way they did, they scored 20 points in less than 4 minutes. Timber Creek at that point then came back again and retook the lead. but Delsey never flinched. Even though they were still, they found themselves down again. There was a lot of time left, and they took advantage of every opportunity given to them last night. You cannot argue with the fact that when given an opportunity last night, they took advantage of it, and that's what a championship team's going to do.
Talk with Kevin Minnick of SJVarsity.com, and Kevin, another game that really impressed me was Rancocas Valley over Millville, and to make that call as a coach, man, that takes some guts because you're an extra point away from tying that game and maybe playing for overtime, and coach said, hey, no, we're going to fake this and go for two and go for the win, and that's that's having a lot of confidence in your special teams unit.
I haven't read too much up on that game last night because it got to be awful late, but for a coach to make that kind of decision, he's got to, like you say, he's got to have tremendous confidence in the play that he wants to run, and that the kids are going to execute that play. Because if he doesn't score there, he's going to hear about that for a long, long time.
No doubt.
Hey, he wanted a lot of coaches would probably play it safe there and take the extra, kick the extra point and settle for overtime or whatever, how the game plays itself out. But he's going for the win, and you got to give him a little bit of credit for having that kind of confidence in his team to get the job done. And RV is a team that pretty much all year long has been right there. And like I said, they're gonna play for a championship now. So if he wasn't the confidence that Dan Houseman showed in the team last night, that's got to be overflowing now with the rest of that team. So that team is going to come into that sectional final, riding really high.
I'll tell you what, man, that sectional final is just going to be a heavyweight throwdown. You talking about Lenape, man? They dropped 63 points on an undefeated Howell team last night, or a one-loss Howell team.
One-loss Howell team, and I think at halftime, I believe at halftime it was 28-14, if I'm not mistaken. But to drop 63 in a sectional semifinal against a team that's pretty good, that's saying something. And before I got on with you, I was just looking at the box score from that game, and JoJo Cullum, he went 280 yards and 6 touchdowns, and here's a kid who. It's almost we knew the potential of JoJo Cullum going into the season, and he had coming off a really good junior year, and I just think maybe this year it kind of took him a little bit to kind of get going, but in these last couple of weeks, this kid is clearly among when you start going down the list of the top backs in South Jersey, this kid is in the conversation, and he's probably with his play taking a few other kids out of the conversation. To run for 280 yards and score 6 times, in a semifinal, it's almost unheard of, I guess. But the kid has really come on strong, and Lenape's. We know the strength of Lenape along the lines, and it's just amazing that you can drop 63 points in a game like that. But that's going to, like I said, that like you said, that's going to be one great final, another rematch of a game played earlier this year that was a battle in itself when RV beat, RV went to Lenape and won, I believe, if I remember right, 10-7. So, or somewhere along those lines.
Yep.
But, this is what the kids play for. This is where they want to be. And it's great to see that there's been so many great storylines, building up to what's going to happen in 2 weeks.
Cole Raring's never had a performance like that in Madden.
Well, maybe he needs to do a little bit more homework. I don't know. I don't know if there's a JoJo Cullum or an Iverson Clement available on Madden, but if there's a way to program one in, maybe he needs to do that.
There you go. And Kevin, just going down the list, some other great games when you're talking about obviously Hamilton, one of the stories of this playoff season. As a number 6 seed getting into the championship game, you had a rematch of West Efford and Cedar Creek. West Efford squeaks out a 28-20 win, and the game I was at, Holy Spirit Mater Dei, just kept going back and forth, and Mater Dei pulls out a 35-34 win. Really one of the best weekends of the year when you talk about semifinal weekend. And so many great matchups and so many dramatic finishes.
Yeah, like we say pretty much on a weekly basis. We wish we could be at 4 or 5 or 6 different places at once. And, I guess through the magic of technology, we kind of now, in a way, we kind of are able to enjoy that to a degree. But, I think that's what you should expect at this stage of the game. Maybe the first round, okay, maybe there's a little bit of a disparity between some teams. But when you get to the semifinals, these teams should be as evenly matched as any potential 2 teams could be, and that should produce great games. It should produce, teams battling back and forth and going at it left and right. And then I think we've seen that, with some of the games. And obviously when these games, the 6 championship games are played at Rowan in 2 weeks, fans are going to get an opportunity, I think, to see that kind of football again. At least it should be that kind of football again. So, I don't know. We're going to see 63 points dropped in the sectional final like Lenape last night, but obviously in 2 weeks we're going to see some very, very good football teams with very, very talented players.
And like you said, Kev, just so many great storylines. Holy Spirit losing 2 years in a row in heartbreaking fashion, a modern day. You got Delsey with the huge win. Rancocas Valley with that exciting finish, and Hamilton. Just almost every section has some kind of great storyline going on.
Yeah, and we've said it before, and I talk to people too. You have to take each group for what it is, and each group in its own right finds a way to show us great teams and great games. And is the Group 1 champion going to be able to beat the Group 5 champion? Maybe once out of 10 times, who knows? But, you take it for what it is. You don't try to look past, the fact of, this is where these teams play, and just look at it at face value and really enjoy what's going on, because these kids are, really putting on a show for a lot of people, and it's what high school football is all about, and it's really what high school sports is all about, to be honest with you. But, right now football obviously takes center stage, and great things are happening, and South Jersey is really should consider itself lucky and blessed for the number of talented teams and great kids and tremendous coaches that it has. Because this area, this area as far as high school football, at least in my opinion, in the last 5 years, has just blown up. And you can go anywhere, and you're going to find a kid or kids that are capable of playing at the next level, whatever level that may be for them. But it's special. High school football in this area is special. And, we got Thanksgiving. We got a couple games today, Thanksgiving games coming up next week. And then, we bring down the curtain in 2 weeks at Rowan. That's with 6 games that are going to be just absolutely fantastic. So it's the time of year to, if you're not on the high school football beat right now, if you're not on the bandwagon right now, there's still time to jump on and get an opportunity to really go out and see what South Jersey high school football is all about.
And Kev, we didn't even mention one of the best storylines of this entire postseason. Gateway never had a playoff win in their entire school history. They're one win away from a state championship appearance.
There you go. That's exactly what I'm talking. That's exactly what it's all about. There's, Gateway plays. They got a tall task today going up against the Penns Grove team that just puts points on the board. I believe they're averaging better than 45, 46 points a game, maybe even closer to 50. It's going to be a test for Gateway, but Gateway's in the midst of a tremendous season, and it's just another one of those storylines, that really makes the whole South Jersey scene very special.
Kevin, great stuff as always. We got to get to your boy Tribble. We appreciate you coming on board, and we'll talk a lot more football next weekend, buddy.
Absolutely, we're looking forward to it.
Get your notebook ready for next weekend. We got a lot to talk about.
I'm gonna have to dig out 2 of them because we got a lot of stuff going on.
Awesome, man. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll see you next week.
Yep. That was Kevin Minnick of SJVarsity.com. Check